So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back on CeBIT Mittelstand Studio, the business web TV live in the heart of the trade fair in Hanover. Our topic today, Europe of Knowledge, knowledge for European SMEs. And, in today's information society, in which our business environment becomes more and more interconnected and globalized, knowledge economy plays a more and more important role. And within this context, of course, also the EU puts into shape a lot of European initiatives and support measures to strive for the growth, sustainability, and mainly to enhance the competitiveness of European SMEs. And this is all what we want to discuss about today. EU policies, of course, to search for research, to support innovation and technology development, but not only the innovation as such, but we should also not forget the non-technological innovation, which will be the topic of our day today. We speak about knowledge, knowledge content, knowledge sharing, and knowledge sharing communities. And for this, I would like to introduce the guests of today. First of all, Mr. Bernd Becker. So you have a long-term experience, I would say, in the IC industry. I don't need to introduce you in detail anymore. You have a long experience in next to a Siemens business unit. You own your own company in the e-cloud, but mainly you're today here as chairman of Eurocloud Europe. So thanks for being here. My second guest, Dr. Katharina Berbenni-Rehm, you have a long-term experience as well in strategic marketing, but mainly you earn a very original young company in Luxembourg, a kind of a cloud-based, specialized, high-level service provider, which is facing a lot of challenges in the knowledge-based economy. And so welcome on board also for this session today. And my first question, Mr. Becker, goes to you. We know that European SMEs, they need to realize that the opportunities on innovation that are given today, they are different than they used to be 10 or 20 years ago. And nowadays they can make use of the technology stronger than ever. And you were here 1 year ago, I think, speaking about cloud computing and the opportunities for SMEs. If you want to, after 1 year's distance, draw a balance for yourself, has the climate changed? Has there been some kind of take-up in the business environment for SMEs mainly?
First of all, thank you for being here again. And yes, you're right. We recognize a change. A year ago, we started to evangelize the market, explaining what cloud computing is about. This, meanwhile, has arrived in the market. We recognize more and more SME companies making use of cloud services. Still in a beginning phase, there is much more to move, but we recognize that cloud adoption in the market is growing.
Always looking to you, you represent Eurocloud, which is a pan-European association represented in 21 countries. I heard also recently that you moved your offices, I hope for very clear strategic reasons, from Paris to Luxembourg. So as a Luxembourger, I will be pleased to welcome you in my country, and I hope that there will be synergies for working together in the interest of Luxembourg, but also European SMEs in the first place. So what would you tell us about the working processes and the methodologies? How does your organization position itself to bring that closer to SMEs? Is there a role to play for you?
There are several aspects with that, of course. First of all, being an industry association, we want to foster the acceptance of cloud in the market. Having industry organizations as members of Eurocloud, we are obliged to support their activities on the market, and that is what we do with a variety of activities. it has very much to do with what's going on the European basis. We have a situation that we have a very fragmented legal regulatory in the various countries, and we are very happy about the activities of the European Commission to go for a harmonization of the legal frameworks in the various countries. We are contributing to that as much as we can. We are very happy about the fact that the key subjects like the need for standardization for cloud computing and the need for a certification scheme which prove providers as reliable providers are in focus of the European Commission, and that is where we are active in.
Mrs. Berbenni-Rehm, I come back to you. You are a best practice today. You have a vocation which is specialized and growth-oriented service provider, so that's a big responsibility, but also a big courage today. You have your cloud platform which you run under the branding PROMIS, and that you try to market in Europe, but also all over the world. For you, which are the key factors to convince SMEs to take this challenge and to follow this stream?
I think we have here two levels. One is the level of the hardware, which I will not go into detail because it's more your part, and where then everybody can measure in a very simple way the benefit that an SME has. What we are addressing at the moment is a non-tangible, is knowledge as the non-tangible asset of each person, of each expert, of each chamber of commerce or associations or institutions, where all more and more, if we provide let me say, a framework that allows to structure the knowledge, that allows also to respect the intellectual property of an individual, of an expert, that allows, on the other hand, even then to take it and to share it or to sell it to clients and so on, then we build up something that, in my opinion, until now is not there yet, because then knowledge becomes a good, which is then, this is what we say, for example, become the entrepreneur of your knowledge. Yeah, because all of a sudden people are happy to give you their knowledge because they know that you respect it. They know that we are there to bring it into the market, and believe it or not, thanks to the European Commission, we have managed also to translate this platform, which is a very, very robust platform in 9 languages, and to integrate the machine translation, where then we have at the moment the opportunity to invite the SMEs and say, use it, because then you have it in a multilingual way. Your whole knowledge all of a sudden can be sold at European level.
I would like to take up one word that you said. We speak here about knowledge entrepreneurship, Mr. Becker. We have an engineer, that's Eurocloud, and we have the architecture, which is PROMIS here today, but specialized e-cloud service providers, so to say. So how would you try to convince me? I'm a representative of a national chamber of commerce. How could what is my role actually? I know my role, of course, but in the digital economy, what will become my role to convince companies to do this take-up, to go into that direction without any fear, and to be secured to go into that direction? Because I think for the SMEs there are a lot of questions. Of course they follow it, but do they really have the courage, and are they really aware that maybe today already they are missing a lot of opportunities because they are still thinking not to do or still to wait, and that it might be too late?
Yeah, well, first of all, when we talk about cloud computing, with the cloud, small media enterprises will have the chance to make use of services which has been only restricted to the large enterprises in the past. So that is a major change. And that is more and more recognized by the small media enterprise, and that is what is driving the market. The other part, which Ms. Berbenni-Rehm just mentioned, is the subject of knowledge. And if you think about the change in that, historically knowledge was just within the company or within an organization as is. Nowadays, and with the internet, even knowledge becomes global. And that brings along the need that you have to be able to communicate due to the various languages and so on and so forth. To give you an example on that, we as Eurocloud provide a certification scheme for cloud computing, which is called Eurocloud Star Audit. And we recognize that this is a subject European-wide. And though we have to deal with all the different languages. And very easily we came to the point that PROMIS is providing the right basis for us to provide the content and, so to say, the knowledge in the various countries across Europe on the same level of, on the same depth. And that is a huge benefit for us, and therefore I'm happy to reflect on that. Yeah.
Actually, coming back from entrepreneurship to Mrs. Rehm and PROMIS, you spoke that you were a European-funded project at the beginning. That makes me think about the European Commission, the relations between the European institutions or institutions in general and SMEs, the structuring that needs to be put into place, mainly knowing that the European Commission pushes more and more to open the shrines within the context of knowledge management, knowledge structuring, and so on. How do you see it for the future? Because there are a lot of questions that, not only chambers of commerce, but a lot of economic key players ask themselves, how secure is it? In which direction do we go? Where will it lead? It's just the beginning of a process. How do you see it?
You put a very, very broad question. I will try to answer in a way. Let me say, we are talking about knowledge. We are talking about two worlds, the world of SMEs and the world of institutions that are very far from each other. But they need to find a way together. You are talking about structuring, sharing knowledge. I would add consuming knowledge. This is then the first two keywords are the domain of the institutions, structuring, sharing. Consuming is the domain of SMEs because it is also, and here I like very much the approach of the Commission now. They are trying to open their shrines, as you say. They are asking the European institutions to give for free all the contents that they have developed and they are developing for free to the SMEs. And in my opinion, here we have an additional layer that is of huge importance because then the institutions give their knowledge structured or non-structured for free. We have then chambers, associations and institutions that can structure, or consultants and experts, they can structure and filter and add value to this knowledge so that from an open data which has been born via tax money and which is given for free to the citizens, we come up to an added value that then an SME is ready to pay for.
Right. You mentioned it, added value. I think it's added value services that we all speak about, mainly when you speak about consuming.
Yes.
SMEs consume added value. They take benefits out of existing things, but they have also to develop intensive added value service. I think that's the main challenge for all the stakeholders employed. The SMEs that have to do so take the advantages of existing things, structures, stakeholders like European Commissions or chamber networks of stakeholders that have to federate these visions to go ahead and support companies to go in that direction and furthermore. So I think these are the main challenges that are given for us. And I would like to ask myself as a chamber again, because I try to put myself in the other perspective, really to go back at home so that I could advise via our initiatives at national, regional and international level the companies to go in that direction. What is the knowledge economy today for European SMEs? Is it still a vision? Is it an embryonic new frame of collaborative and very sophisticated ICT platforms, or is it already a step further, that it's a reality scenario in which we are living in? Maybe as a conclusion, a hot statement, the last statement from both of you to say.
Yes. If we think we are living in the information century, I would say that is not true. We are just entering it. And because of that, we have seen IT, which was operated generically. Each company run its own data center, not having IT as a core competence, but doing it themselves as good as they could, with all the risks coming along with that, talking about security and things like that. What's now happening is that IT becomes a service. Companies do not need to bother about the operation themselves anymore. They just consume it, as we said before. That is the status quo we have today. If you look into the future, cloud computing becomes a platform for new developments. It will drive companies of all branches, of all industries, into a new level of innovation. That is recognized by the Commission. If you look for the European Cloud Strategy, they pointed out what it means for Europe in terms of GDP, in terms of employment, and we are just at the beginning. But there is a huge perspective for all of us, and that is very beneficial for the SMEs.
Mm-hmm. So if I interpreted that in another context, actually, if we strive today for knowledge, to have this knowledge economy, it's a very complex issue. You have methodologies, you have processes, but the main challenging is still for the SMEs, because now they, as you said, they are just using it, but they should play, actually, your words is to invite them to take a more active way into the whole, coming back to the knowledge entrepreneurship, to exploit the existing opportunities and to create added value with it. Mrs. Rehm, you have understood this message already. You are a pioneer in that sense, even if you're a small company, but we know that many micro companies are playing a very important role in the fundaments. How would you state the responsibility?
Being an SME myself, I would agree with both of you saying that we are starting a very long journey. Being an SME, I would say we are starting a journey in the world of knowledge. That means that we will need filtering. We will need structuring knowledge. We will need, and for me, as long as I see that if I give something, I get back an alliance, a community, I can share with others, I can win from others. And the key, I think, for all of us is the fact that I am, as an SME, I do not buy technology. I do not buy methodologies. I buy the answer to my questions at a fingertip. And it is even more encouraging to see that to do this, we need instruments. We need simply, to put the boundaries, to go from here to there and then leave the freedom in behind to people, to SMEs, to then bring their creativity inside. And I think there we are still at the start, but I think there is already quite a lot going on. And the institutions are supporting, which is good. Mm-hmm. And we need it.
We are almost concluding, and the topic, we could discuss still a long time because the issue is so complicated, and the more we exchange ideas and visions, the more things and topics there are actually to debate. I would just like to take up two more keywords, if you allow me. It's actually shared responsibility, what we are talking about all the key players implicated. We have, in the first place, the SMEs, we have the operators, we have the providers, and we have the users in the end, so it's a whole value chain. And so it's a very complex, streamlined government structure which needs to be put into place. Really, to conclude on this topic, the debate of today, Mr. Becker, how do you see this as a challenge?
If you look to other industries, finance, for example, you already have scenarios which we are entering with the IT nowadays. You have your money on the bank, means that you have your values with a provider who manages your values, and that is accepted. And
you want to say that my money is on the cloud?
No, your money is with a provider who takes care of it instead of yourself. And that is happening with the cloud as well. And you do not need to understand the technology in depth. Once you drive your car, you do not necessarily know how your engine is working. You just rely on the fact that the car manufacturer provides you with a car which is working. And that is what we need to accept in the IT and the ITC industry as well.
Mrs. Rehm, a last statement from your side, supporting Mr. Becker, I presume.
Yes, supporting and adding that I think what we need to learn in Europe is to stop having silos, institutional silos, SME silos, association silos, and to learn collaborative working in the practice, because the future is strategic alliances. The future will mean I do not invest one penny if I know that you have developed something, we are much faster and much better if we get together, each of one of us knowing our limits, knowing our strength, and knowing also the rule of the race. Then I think Europe will become the Europe of knowledge. And then I think there we have the biggest strength to be number one at global level.
So I think that was a very intense and interesting debate. Thank you very much. So personal conclusion for myself, we have a shared knowledge, methodologies and processes. We have a lot of added value services to be put into place, to be developed, and the whole in the interest and in the benefits of European SMEs. So that was Europe of knowledge and knowledge for European SMEs. Thank you very much for your attention.